Yeah, have you
Also,
done any yet?
no, you're my first podcast. You're gonna be the guinea pig.
If it's terrible, I'll blame you for 50% of it.
Welcome, everybody. My name is Klaja Shams. I'm the CEO and co-founder at Momento. Super excited here to have Yao with us today. Yao, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
I worked at Twitter for a very long time, but since last year, I have founded a company with my former teammates called IOP Systems. During my time at Twitter, I split my time between distributed caching and performance engineering. And these days, IOP Systems focus mostly on performance engineering, making everybody's code fast is our goal.
So I want to know why I can trust you or IOP systems with my performance or caching needs. Can you tell me a little bit about why performance engineering was tough at Twitter? Like, you're probably not dealing with much data, I imagine, and it doesn't matter if it's fast or slow, right?
Uh, so the road to performance engineering for me was paved by high profile incidents. So during my earlier years at Twitter, I actually handled 670 and 671. So 70 is the highest possible grade, 71 and numerous incidents before we even have the grading system, right? So one thing that is interesting is so caching uniquely had the ability to make or break the site, so to speak. And a lot of the times, and then caching, if you don't know, is just an optimization technique to make things faster. So when it stopped being faster, a lot of things break as a result of that. So it turns out that a lot of the reliability problems end up being performance problems, or especially performance predictability problems. So I spend most of the time nominally working on caching, but really was getting into the guts of distributed systems, operating systems, networking, understanding all the edge cases that can slow things down. So that naturally sort of led to the second half of my Twitter career, which was to apply these things I mostly learned while in the context of caching, but broadening the horizon to see if they are applicable elsewhere. And during that time, by my calculation, we saved Twitter over $100 million, right? Just by doing efficiency improvement. So we never compromise latency for throughput. That's just not the spirit of working on cache. So we always create a situation where user get better performance and the site is running leaner.
That's fantastic. So what I hear is you have got a lot of bruises to show from all the outages that you have seen at Twitter, and then a lot of lessons that you learn in terms of making those systems more resilient and robust while on that path saving Twitter $100 million. Or the evidence of this firsthand when Momento and IOP Systems partnered together for the Google ARM VM launches. And when Google launched their ARM VM next to Ampere, working together, we were able to demonstrate a 16-core ARM box on GCP doing over 1 million QPS with a 2 millisecond P39 SLA. That's a big deal. Switching gears a little bit, I want to hear from you, because I've been asking a lot of people, what is a feature store?
So I'm kind of new to feature store, but in a sense, I've been working with feature store for a very long time. I'm new because this term to me is new, and I actually only heard about it because people kept telling me about it. And so I'm going to rephrase to you what someone else told me, which is feature store is a place where you can discover, store, and also serve features, which are data that are processed into the format and size that is suitable for machine learning, both training and inference. Right. So I say it's old because once I dig a little bit deeper into what are the building blocks of feature store and what it does, I realize there's like more than a decade of data processing, big data processing, both batch and streaming, as well as key value data store, as well as online data structure server like Redis and other ETL capable technologies. So all of these building blocks have been there for a long time, and they kept evolving, and they came together to give us this cohesive product or concept that is called feature store. So I'm always excited to solve a new problem with old techniques, and it turns out that the underlying techniques of feature store is something that we actually have used a lot while at Twitter and while working on cache. So it's exciting to me that I can see what's different and maybe apply some of the old lessons if they're still applicable.
Got it. What are some of the challenges that you see people having with performance with regards to feature stores, and how are they similar to, let's say, a caching problem? What are the attributes that a good feature store shares with a good cache?
So when I was working on cache, and remember Twitter was pretty large scale application. One of the things that was difficult and important to me was get tail latency under control. And I would say over 50% of my work was for that goal only. Get tail latency under control. So sometimes they felt I was shouting from the mountaintop into the void, telling people that they need to care about P triple nine when people say, I have 20 QPS, why do I care, right? But I think ML and just anything that has to do with large scale data really changes the perspective for a much bigger section of the audience, because now everybody has a lot of data, everybody has a high throughput system on their hand. So what used to be a somewhat boutique and high end demand is increasingly becoming commonplace. So I think once people start looking at not just P99, right? That's considered very tail in the past, but really large scale operations have for a decade looking at P39 and P49, just because the phenomenon called tail at scale, and it's a really very challenging and exciting problem. Every time you move to the next nine, you discover things that you didn't even know existed. So I'm very happy that maybe this will be finally be the opportunity for me to share those lessons that we have learned, and hopefully we can make everybody's life slightly less miserable when they discover the unavoidable tail.
So I'm curious, if the role of instrumentation the same? Because I know for you to be successful at Twitter, you have to do a lot of work with telemetry, right, to be able to understand these systems. And I'm curious if how much of that applies into a good feature store.
Oh, that's an excellent question. Not very many people would ask that this early on. Uh, so I think in general, for performance telemetry, there's something that is different from general monitoring and then general health reporting, which is a lot of performance problems are just fairly microscopic in scale. So it happens over a very short period of time, even though they may have high level ramifications, right? So there needs to be some impedance match from the monitoring infrastructure. So if you have a performance problem that happens on the subsecondly level, and the instrumentation can only give you a summary at the minute level, then you're bound to miss a lot of activities that's happening under the hood. Right? So we had to develop our own telemetry agent, which is called Resolus. By the way, is a open source project we continue to carry and work on to this day, because the fundamental thing is it needs to be able to capture sample signals at a high enough frequency that it discloses those performance problems, especially performance problems at scale or at the tail, right? Is even rarer than your P50 events. And that has a lot of implications, which is if you're sampling so frequently, then it has to be itself extremely efficient, right? It has to gather data and process them on the fly so that you don't have an explosion of data that have to pay and collect using other expensive services. So this whole pipeline, once you get into the domain of performance engineering, just becomes an entirely new problem, because now you are dealing with a problem that essentially 100% X the problem they used to be.
Yeah, I have a lot of confidence in my own love for instrumentation and monitoring, and running very, very large fleets on DynamoDB and so forth. But I was humbled when I first met you, and you walked me through a scenario where one of your customers was saying, "Hey, I'm staying within the TPS limit that you have provided me. The transactions per second limit is, I'm well under it." And you were able to use Resolute and show them that no, just because you're at you're doing 1 million requests in a second doesn't mean that those 1 million requests are spread evenly across that second. And that could have huge implications. So that, just that little observation, was very, very humbling to see. Like, it's not just, QPS is such a quaint term at this point when you start to look at, little artifacts in the systems that might be causing, peaks at the top of the second or at the end of the second and so forth. So anyways, I always learn so much when talking to you. Is there a venue where you're talking soon where people can come hear from you, meet you in person, and learn more about performance engineering and feature stores and tail at scale?
I am going to Seattle to speak at MoCon with some of the familiar faces and also people I'm happy to know, hopefully. And I will give my best take, hopefully, my best take on feature store and how I think existing cache technologies are poised to play a major role in this whole ecosystem.
That's awesome. I'm super excited. MoCon is on August 3rd at T-Mobile Stadium. It's where the Mariners play. Great audience, great speakers. We've got Yao and a whole bunch of other amazing speakers that you'll be hearing more about. It's on the 3rd in Seattle. Hope to see you there, and really excited to see your talk, Yao, and no pressure.
See you in Seattle.
Thank you.